When you're hired to shoot photos for an artist, how do you ensure that all of your photos don't look the same? Well, the answer is actually simple, and it's twofold. It's a combination of shooting at different focal lengths and changing your physical location around the venue, aka don't just stay on stage the whole time. So if you want a variety of different shots to deliver to your client, and for portfolio purposes in general, make sure you're allocating your shooting time across various locations around the venue, with at least 2 lenses that offer different focal lengths. My go-to setup is to shoot between 60 to 75% of the show with my wide angle option, and this will either be the 16 to 35 Sony G Master or a fisheye alternative. The percentage that I keep a wide angle lens on my camera increases if I'm shooting video as well, which these days is a majority of the time. The remaining 25% of the time, I'll switch to a 70 to 200 telephoto lens to capture some different, tighter, and more punched in compositions. Now with all of that out of the way, here's what an hour-long set generally looks like for me. Let's use this layout of my local venue, the Roseland Theater, as an example. Obviously there's the stage, the general admission section, and the orange section is actually balcony seating. And in between the stage and the general admission section, you'll usually find the photo pit. And to keep things simple, let's assume I'm only hired to shoot photos for this client. First, I will walk on stage with the artist and then crouch so that nobody can see me behind the DJ and/or stage production. And I'll prepare my camera settings in order to shoot around the time the first beat drops, especially if lighting isn't optimal. I'll remain on stage with the artist repeatedly shooting the big moments and crouching when there's a transition or downtime for about 10 to 15 minutes. I'll then spend the next 10 to 15 minutes taking photos of the artist from the general admission area, the photo pit, and the balcony area from the main vantage points with my wide angle lens option in combination with my monopod. This is the one that I use by Sue-Ray. I highly recommend it. Now here are the main vantage points that I would focus on with my wide angle lens. And yes, I will make it a priority to get shots in every single one of those locations. I especially will be at one of those locations when the beat drops, which between 10 to 15 minutes is about 4 to 5 beat drops. Once about 10 to 15 minutes of shooting have passed, aka half of the set could be complete by this point, I'll switch to my telephoto lens. So I don't have to run back on stage. I'll actually have my telephoto lens in my backpack, and I'll usually switch lenses somewhere with little to no traffic, like the photo pit. Now, I'll repeat what I just did, but with my telephoto lens, and no monopod obviously, for the next 10 to 15 minutes. Here are the main vantage points I will hit with my telephoto lens. You'll notice a difference in vantage points between both lenses due to their respective focal lengths and the compositions they're better at capturing. At this point in the set, around 30 to 45 minutes have elapsed, and I have spent a large amount of time not being on stage. Since the Roseland Theater is small, and it wouldn't take that much time moving from the stage to the floor, I could get away with leaving my telephoto lens on stage, so I could spend around 5 minutes or so shooting more photos of the artist before switching lenses. That said, for massive festival-sized stages, I highly recommend taking your second lens with you so you don't have to double back and waste so much time moving from one location to another. I mentioned this before in another video, but the main stage at EDC was so massive, it would take 5 to 6 minutes to move from the stage to the photo pit, which is 10% of the entire set simply moving locations. Definitely not optimal. But anyways, to wrap up, the final 15 to 30 minutes of the set are a mixture of being on stage, capturing more photos, including the family photo, which generally happens at the end of the artist's set, and freely roaming around capturing anything I might have missed. Now, of course, this general example to ensure you're capturing different looking photos is for a relatively smaller venue with a 1,400 person capacity. This changes drastically depending on the artist's needs and requests, the size of the venue, the access that you're granted, if you're also shooting video at the same time, and so many other variables that can come into play. Thank you for watching, liking, and subscribing, guys. This video was another one of those nuanced topics, and it could easily be 2 or 3 times as long because there's just so much to discuss. So if you have any lingering questions, drop them down in the comments. I might even end up creating a similar video specifically for the Gorge Amphitheater main stage. If you'd be interested in seeing that, let me know as well. Now, for more tips and tricks on how to best be prepared when shooting a concert, rave, or festival, head over to the video on the screen now, and I'll see you there. Cut.